Today we're going to learn how to build a frequency table and then a histogram using Google Spreadsheets. So you're going to log into your Google Drive and you're going to click on Create and you're going to create yourself a spreadsheet. I've already got it started. So the problem that we want to try and solve is that we have two standard dice. We're going to roll them 50 times. We want to find out how many times the sum of each roll occurs. So old school, you'd have to go and roll a pair of dice. You can do it on the internet, but here's the concept. We roll the first set of dice. 5 plus 2 equals 7. That would be our first sum. We'd roll it again. This time 5 plus 4 gives us 9. You can see how this process repeats itself over and over and over again. What we have to decide though is what are the possible outcomes. Well, if we roll 2 ones, the lowest we can get would be a 2, and the maximum sum we could get would be 12, 6 and 6. So those are our possible outcomes, 2 through 12 inclusive. So there's a formula in any spreadsheet called a random number generator. Maybe before I do that, the moment you type equals and then any letter, it'll give you all of the different options for formulas that exist within the spreadsheet. So I know that this one I want rand, so I just guess, and there it is, random between, returns an integer, random number between bottom and top. So I'm going to click on that. I know my bottom is 2, I know my top is 12, so I click enter. And instead of having to put that in 50 times, I'm just going to drag it down 10, and I'm going to drag it over 5. So that gets me 50 random numbers that have been generated by the spreadsheet, just like we had rolled the dice and recorded the answers. Now one trick to this is when you use random number generator, you have to lock in the data. So what we have to do is we have to go up to edit, we've got to copy this data. You can see it gives you the shortcuts, and if you're good with the shortcuts you can use them. I just wanted to show you from the menu bar. So we're going to copy that, and we're going to come back up here and we're going to go edit, paste special. So when you use paste special, you're going to paste only the values. You're going to eliminate the formulas from those cells. So I'm going to click paste special. When you click off it, you'll see this yellow box around, and what that says to you is that you've done it correctly and there should be no more formula in that cell if you click on them. So we've got to create a frequency table now. So what we're trying to figure out is how many times 2 shows up in 50 rolls, how many times 3 shows up. So I'm going to put down our possibilities, and this is another little trick. Once you get a range of numbers into Excel or spreadsheet, you can just pull it down. One too many. And then we want to know the frequency. So let's try it old school. Let's count. There's 1, 2, 2 twos, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the frequency of the 2 would be 7. There's a quicker way to do this using another formula. So I'm going to erase that 7, and this is a count if. So I'm going to type in count if, and you see it pops up there. Asks you for the range. Then it asks you for the criteria. So what that formula is saying is it count all of this from A5 to E15 and tell me how many times A18, or the number 2, is shown. And look at that, 7 times. And again, I can just pull this down and it will show me all of the frequencies for all of the numbers. But wait a second, this tells me that there's no 12, but we can see here very clearly that there are 2 12s. So when you do something in spreadsheets, you always want to double check and make sure it's right. So if you double click it, it'll show you what data you're using. Double click this, oh, and you see something starting to happen with the green box. It starts to come down. If I go down to the bottom, you can see that the green box doesn't have any of the 12s in it, so it's not going to work accurately. So let's go back to the first one. If you want to lock in a range, what you have to do is you have to put number signs around the letters. Whoops. What that'll do, I should make sure that that's in there. to E15. That'll lock that in. So then when I pull this down, it'll show up that number 12 is actually showing up 8 times as opposed to 0. So those are just a couple little tricks that you'll want to learn as you go along. Just make this look nicer. Now that still doesn't mean much to us, but if we can put that into a graph or into a histogram, it's going to make more sense for our viewers, and it's going to make more sense to us to try and analyze it. So really easy. Just highlight the data, insert, come down here to chart, and it's going to give you some options. We want a histogram to look like this, and it shows you, and you could probably imagine that this isn't right, so you've got to look over here. You've got to say, alright, I need to use column A as headers, and there you go. So this tells you the frequencies. You can see that 12 clearly has the highest frequency, and then we can go in and we can customize this a little bit. We can put a title, we can put axis title, so the horizontal, this would be the sum, the vertical title, this would be the frequency. You can play around with more stuff in here if you want, but for us, I think that'll be good enough. And we'll insert it. So let me move this over. With a couple pretty easy steps, you've gone and you've created yourself a histogram using Google Spreadsheets and a couple simple formulas. So that's how to create a simple frequency table in histogram, and we'll come back in another video and show you how to do a cumulative frequency and also how to do a weighted average table.